Hello, everyone. Welcome to the How to Write Through Stress and Anxiety webinar. I am just getting things set up, waiting for everyone to join us who wants to join us. I'd love to hear from you who is here with us, where you're from, what's going on. I'm not quite sure why it's only showing the slides and not me at this point in time. We'll see what happens. I'm a little nervous to change the layout because it seems like every time I try and do something crazy like that, I regret it later. All right, it's not pulling up the video for some reason. So I'm not going to mess with it because we have a good thing going here. I assume everyone can hear me and see the slides. If I can just hello, Carol and Karen. And if someone could just let me know that indeed you can hear me and see the slides, I would appreciate that. And we'll give just a second for, all right, Debbie can hear me, Jen can hear and see the slides. Awesome. All right. Well, great to see so many people here today. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because this is something that I have been dealing with for a very long time. In fact, my journey with writing actually began because of a very stressful incident in our life, which I will talk to you about in a second. Yes, there's always replays, so you don't have to worry about that. If you have to go out, then the presentation will be sent out to you as well. Is audio causing a problem for everyone? I'm just going to give it a second. Okay. It may just be, right now, y'all, the internet is in massive overage usage right now. So sometimes it's causing weirdness in the broadcast and delay. So if anyone is having a problem with the audio, please note that this presentation will be emailed out to you about an hour after it's over. And then we will also upload it to our YouTube account, which is Write, Publish, Sell on YouTube. So please subscribe to us over there so that you can always see our presentations when they come up over there. All right, let's get to it. Thank you for joining me here today. As I mentioned a second ago, this is really one of my favorite topics, to be quite honest. It's the reason why I started to write. It's one thing that I really enjoy talking about. And I want to let you know we're going to get a little woo here, but not like craziness, because basically I'm going to talk about the connection of body, mind, and spirit, and some of the tools that I have used to help settle me down, calm my anxiety, and help me move through the process. I am by no means an expert in all of this. I need to give a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. I am not a yoga instructor yet, although I am happy to announce I just started my training, mostly not because I really want to teach yoga, but because I really want to understand the connection of the body and all of the areas of it and all of that stuff. So I'm doing it more as a journey, as a self-help journey. And one of my friends told me, she said, well, that's really what yoga is all about. It's all about a journey to understand yourself and your body and everything going on. So I'm excited about it. But anyway, let's get to the topic at hand here, which is not yoga, although you may use yoga to help you. All right. So the point is that stress can have super duper duper negative impacts on our body, mind, and spirit. And when any or all or one of these things are out of whack, it can cause havoc everywhere. Whether you realize it or not. I saw the greatest article the other day, and I wish I had written it first. And the title of it was something like, that uncomfortable feeling that you have right now is grief. And it's crazy that I saw that article because not 2 days before that, I had said to my husband, the whole world is grieving right now. They just don't know it. And it's so true. We are all grieving, whether you recognize it or not, whether you've ever grieved the loss of a loved one heavily. Like right now, we are grieving the loss of normalcy, the loss of control, the loss of everything happening in your world. Like it's just poof in one day, or maybe not one day, but over the course of a couple weeks, our lives got stood on their heads. And it's similar to the experience of a significant loss, whether that be a person you love or a job. Some of you are going through both of those things as well with all of this happening. The disconnection from our friends and family, like we are all grieving. And so this presented a really interesting opportunity for me because of the fact of my background and who I am and where I have come from. So my whole journey started through a significant loss. I was pregnant with my third pregnancy, and we were shocked and stunned to learn that not only was there a third baby, but there was also a fourth baby, and they were really, really sick. And we went through a horrific year, really, of testing and procedures and hospitalizations, and all the while with two very small children still at home this whole time. And the babies were born significantly early, about 10 weeks early, which in itself would have been overcomable. Plenty of babies survive at 30 weeks, but one of them was born severely growth restricted. She was about the size of a 24-weeker at 1 pound, 10 ounces. And the other one was born with very significant issues, a heart that was not functioning, lungs that were underdeveloped, and she was only with us for 2 days before she passed away. So once our other baby made it through the rocky stages and some surgeries and some scary moments and came out a wild child, very strong, very I'm happy to report totally wild, crazy 8-year-old healthy child now. Once we got past of that scare and moved into a little bit of normal, I took to writing, to blogging in particular, as a place to really just explore everything that I was feeling. And I started this is kind of an interesting story. I get asked all the time, why did I start a publishing company called Cat Biggie Press? And the story behind that is that when I started blogging, I needed a safe place. I wanted to write and I wanted to put my words out into the world for people to hear, but I didn't want people to know necessarily that they were coming from me at the beginning. So I began blogging and writing under the name Kat, K-A-T, for Catherine. That was my daughter's name, Big Wharf. So Biggie is B-I-G-G-I-E, short for Big Wharf. So that's how that all began. And I have continued to use writing as a healing tool for me. And along the way, I started working with other grieving mothers, and I started developing a program around how you can use writing to heal in general. And since that point in time, I have been really blessed that people were put in my path that have helped me explore different things that have just kind of been added to my repertoire of tools in this healing process and in this working through anxiety and stress and grief and all of that. And what I've really found is that that writing in itself is an incredible tool to release things. And what I'm going to say is, if you are writing now and you're writing really, really raw stuff, and especially if it's angry stuff, I would encourage you to write that in a place where no one's seeing those words until you can step back a little bit, because once they're out in the world, they're out in the world. And there were a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I wasn't ready for everyone to read. That's just my statement right now. Write as much as you want, but be careful with the really, really, really raw or angry stuff on any stage until you can take a step back and say, is that really what I want everyone else to consume? But that's just a side note. Anyway, a couple years ago, I met a woman named Kate Butler, and Kate Butler became a mentor of mine, and she hosted this conference. And at this conference, it was a business conference, but it was a business conference with a whole lot of energy healing wrapped into it. Now, I had never really thought that much about energy healing. I had heard about meditations and affirmations and all of these things, and I was okay with that. I knew about yoga, but I didn't know what yoga was beyond an exercise session, right? I didn't really fully understand the whole body, mind, spirit connection. And we're doing all these exercises throughout this weekend at this conference that I went to. And I had a lot of severe, like massive breakthroughs. But the thing that I took away the most from it was that normally when I leave a conference like that, I am 100% depleted. But it was the opposite. Even though we'd been learning and sharing and doing all these things and doing all this magnificent growth for our businesses, I had never had so much energy, and my mind was just like exploded open. On the plane ride home, I wrote 12 pages in a notebook and I outlined 4 books. And normally it takes me like 3 days just to recover from being at a conference like that, right? So I was like, okay, there is something to this. So I'm going to start exploring it. All right, let's talk about what's happening right now in our world. So the first thing, when you are dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety, normally one of the first things to decline is mental capacity. At least for me and for a lot of the people that I work with, like you start feeling really exhausted. You may be experiencing what I call mind fog, where everything is just kind of blurry. I described it to someone today like sticking my head in my brain in a jar of peanut butter. Like it's just sticky and hard to maneuver, or like a scene in a movie where you're trying to run and you just can't even pick your foot up off of the ground. Like that's to me what severe brain fog and all of that feels like. You may be feeling depressed. Might have tons of ideas, but no motivation. Fear, you may be feeling irritable, tired, and all of these types of things. Like this is a very normal process when you are either suffering from anxiety or depression or stress or any of those things. So my goal here today is to provide you some tips and tools and knowledge on some things that help me get out of that. So I told you there'd be a little bit of science. For those of you who don't know about the scientific thing that happens with stress, there is actually a little steroid hormone that can produce massive negative impacts on your body, both physically and emotionally. Cortisol can, if when you are stressed out, it makes this hormone produce even more, and it can impact your metabolism, your immune response, all of these types of things. So a lot of people who have too much cortisol in their system will gain weight, you'll be tired, your brain is slow, all of these types of things. And too much cortisol can actually wear down your brain's ability to function. So chronic stress does scientifically impact your brain. It can shrink, all of this can shrink your prefrontal cortex, and also it creates a domino effect that can hardwire paths between the hippocampus and the amygdala. And the amygdala is this little piece of your brain that is your fear center. So Natasha, me too, girl. In the past, like 2 years, when my stress has been at its highest, it doesn't matter what I eat or what I do or what I don't eat or don't do. Like the weight just kept coming on. You don't sleep well, all these kinds of things. So Amy G. Dalla, as some people like to call her, can really cause a lot of problems going on as well. And so this is what's happening. The good news is you can implement things in your life that help you reduce the cortisol and calm down your actual physical response to stress. Yeah, sleep is a big thing. Okay. So what I want to do is just share again. I am not trained in these things. I have just experienced and lived it, and I have used it in my journey. The part that I didn't tell you was, in addition to writing and publishing and doing all of these things, I also have a nonprofit that supports grieving mothers. And I work with grieving mothers on a variety of ways. Sometimes it's just as simple as sending a package of love to them during their dark time. We run a healing retreat each year, and we do other things. I do writing to heal. I do grief recovery groups, and I've used these tools to help as well. And so I'm just here to share what has helped me. Some of it may work for you, some of it may not. I encourage you to try things and see what does work, and just wave off the stuff that doesn't work for you. Okay. So handling stress and identifying source of triggers is one thing we're going to talk about. We're going to learn about different ways to reduce the stress. And I take a very holistic approach. Mind, body, and spirit together form the perfect triangle when it comes to anything else. And then action steps to use these things to help you keep writing. Because here's the thing. This may seem like it's never going to end right now, but it is going to end. And I'm not one of those people who is preaching the you need to accomplish the whole world right now. You need to, write the next best-selling novel. You need to clean out your entire house. You need to lose 50 pounds, like take advantage of this time. No. I know that's too much and that's stressful. However, I am a big believer in not stopping entirely and continuing to do small things to move myself forward, even if it's in a little bit of a different direction than I thought where I'd be going right now. So that's what I want you to do too. I want you to keep writing if you can. And I talked about this already. We're all grieving right now. These are the things we mentioned. Grief will cause this increased cortisol level. It causes stress. It causes anxiety. It causes this decline in mental capacity and more fear. The fear of what's coming next makes it hard to push through, makes it really hard. I'm going to tell you that right now that I'm in a much better place today than I was this time last week, because the first 2 weeks of trying to adjust to this schedule of having 3 children home with me, and trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing for school, having my husband here, not being able to do all the things we're used to, like it was really hard. I was still launching a program. We're still doing all these things. And I was having a really difficult time. But now into week 3, we're getting more on a regular schedule. I've reduced a lot of the demands on myself from day to day. And I'm just, really trying to work through all of it. Okay. So I shared a little bit of my story already. So I've taken that story and I've tried to learn as many coping skills as I can so that I can still function through high periods of stress, crazy schedule, no time, no resources, grief. Since my daughter died, I also lost my father. And last year, at about this time of the year, we lost my closest aunt to a very aggressive cancer that came out of nowhere. Since this has happened, my husband is unemployed. My business is questionable as to what's going to happen. My son turns 13 tomorrow, and we're like sad that it's his 13th birthday and he's trapped inside the house. I had to cancel my healing retreat for this year for grieving mothers, which now I'm trying to figure out how to move it online. I was supposed to go to a massive a conference in Washington, D.C. for mom advocates in May. That this was the first time I was going to get to go, and that got canceled. Like, it's just one thing after another. And you just kind of have to learn how to roll with the punches. Okay, so let's talk about what I have done. And hopefully some of these strategies will resonate with you, and hopefully you'll be able to utilize them as well. Okay, noise is a triggering factor. Everybody and their grandma is on social media right now, is sending emails, is going live, is posting political things, is posting it's just everybody's everywhere. Everybody you've ever come in contact with from a business perspective is sending you online stuff and sending you emails, and it's just pinging all the time, right? And if that is too much for you, so for me, I'll just be very, very transparent about what is causing a lot of stress as a trigger for me is when I open my email and I see other people who do the same type of things that I do, run the same type of business, and I see what all they're like putting out and accomplishing and all these things and taking advantage of the time that's in front of them and what people are doing. And I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm over here in my shell while everybody else is putting out all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I got to stop. I can't right now. This is ridiculous. Shut it down. So I have done a couple of things. One, I only go on Facebook and look at my friends' feeds, basically. And if it's not something that's funny or something like that. Like I don't even pay attention to it. I just scroll right through. I'm not reading the news anymore. I'm not reading because I already know. We know what situation we're in right now. I watch the daily briefing that my governor and our health department gives, and occasionally watch the one out of the White House. But like I'm not reading anymore. I'm not doing that of the news stuff. I'm not looking at negative stuff, and I'm just trying to incorporate the stuff that makes me feel happy. I'm blessed that I have an assistant who goes through and reads all my emails first, and she's gatekeeping for me right now for anything that might potentially, cause me to break down. And my team is handling a lot of that kind of stuff, which is awesome. I know not everybody has that going on, but there are different ways you can set up. You can just have a calm inbox, only check it once a day, only check it once a week if you want, those types of things. And then acknowledge the connection between the mind, body, and spirit. So what I mean by this is that if your body is not healthy, your mind can't be healthy and your spirit cannot be healthy. If your mind is not healthy, it's going to be hard for the rest of it. So I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how much they're drinking. Okay, so yeah, happy hour starts a little bit earlier at my house every day too, but I'm trying to limit it. And in fact, I'm considering eliminating it for a short period of time anyway. I'm drinking more water to make sure that my body is not dehydrated, which also causes problems. I am going out and I am walking. I guess the plus side of what's happening right now is I've never been as physically active as I am right now. I'm taking an hour-long walk every single morning. Thank goodness we live in a state in South Carolina. We have great weather right now, and I'm able to go do that. I'm bike riding with my kids, trying to do this yoga stuff. I'm trying to find quiet time to sit on my back porch with nobody talking to me, just getting away. Because even though I am an introvert and I don't mind being at my house all the time, I do mind having 4 other people with me every minute of every day, all the time, without cessation. So there's that. All right. So, just doing the things. A woman in my group sent me some nasal sprays of essential oils the other day that which is just amazing. The connection of oils, which I can't really talk to, but Linda said she's going to do a webinar with my group to talk about all of that kind of stuff. But there are ways to inject things to keep your body healthier, which keep your mind healthier. And the walking every day has been amazing in terms of my creativity. When I come back from these walks, my brain is wide open. I have all kinds of ideas of things I want to do. So it really makes a big difference incorporating all of these things into your life. Because if you're just sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day, drinking alcohol or not drinking water or drinking even soda with all the sugar. I mean, sugar, this is not a health science class here, but sugar does some things to your body. And it can also too much sugar consumption can result in joint pain and brain fog and all of those types of things. So, panic attacks. In the first week, I was really feeling like I was very close to a panic attack, but that's calming down as I'm doing some of these other things. So we want to get from the point where we're feeling like Sheldon on the left hand over here to what is this, SpongeBob's friend over here on the right side. And, I'm not going to say that I do all of these things all day, every day. I am still getting in some Netflix times. Thank you, Patrick. So, we do the best that we can with what our situation is. But what I am trying to tell you is try to find some type of balance and try to listen to what your body is telling you. And it will impact if you do things to help your body and to help yourself calm down. It will help everything else. So some of the things that you can do to reduce the brain fog, which brain fog is going to be a huge impact on how you are doing in terms of motivation for writing, in terms of ideas, in terms of being able to sit down and concentrate long enough to write, and all of those types of things. So small changes that you can do, just breathing. It's amazing. There's a very, very simple exercise that you can do, and it is no more than just Deep breath in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And release for a count of 4. It's that simple. If you can do that once, twice, 3 times throughout your day, a lot of times we don't get enough oxygen to our brain when we get anxious, when we get nervous about things. You start breathing more shallowly. You're not getting enough oxygen in there. You're literally like not taking in enough for your brain to calm down. So I use an app called Headspace. It's a free app. I think they have a paid version as well, but I'm telling you what, there are so many meditation apps, brain apps, all these types of things out there right now that will do these things, like send you reminders to just breathe. Breathing, it's amazing. It's the simplest thing, the freest thing, and the easiest. Just do it. Remind yourself to stop and take deep breaths. Meditation, yoga, exercise, walks, doing affirmations, all of these things can help calm your nervous system and calm your mind every single day. I've done that too, Julia, putting an alarm so that like once an hour or something like that. Also, if you have a Fitbit, you can have it notify you. It will notify you every 50 minutes if you haven't walked 250 steps. So if you haven't gotten in those 250 steps and it buzzes you at 10 minutes before the hour, that's also a time that you could remind yourself to breathe as well. Okay, so we're talking about the holistic approach. So talking about the health of your mind, your body, drink water, try and eat good things for your body as much as you can, incorporate daily activities that help you strengthen these areas, and then mindset and affirmations. If you have not yet gone over and downloaded the free copy of my book, Ditch the Fear and Just Write It, the whole reason that I wrote that book was for mindset. I would guess I was ahead of my times on what I would eventually be doing. But one of the things that I've found, especially working with female writers over the last few years, is that so many females struggle with mindset issues. So time after time after time, I would hear the same things of why they weren't making progress or why they hadn't written their book yet, why they hadn't started writing their book. And a lot of it rolled down to the simple thing of fear. They were either afraid of so many things, as simple as afraid they didn't have the time to fit it into their life, to as big a things of afraid that people would question why they were the authority on the book that they were writing, why they thought that they were important enough to write a book. I mean, the mindset issues are massive, right? But so in Ditch the Fear and Just Write It, I have a whole section on mindset and affirmations as they relate directly to writers, and a system on how to create your own daily affirmations. And while the book talks mostly in context of writers, you can do this for anything. I mean, a daily affirmation could simply be, I am calm. My body is healthy. These types of things that you repeat to yourself or out loud, or every time you're feeling panicky, I am calm. I am healthy. I am safe. All of these things are really helpful. So you can grab that copy of that. It's a PDF download and you can print it out, and it has daily exercises and all kinds of things to do in there for that. All right, I encourage you to explore new things. My mind was blown at this conference that I went to, really, when I saw how effective small things, affirmations, intentions, meditations, listening to the crystal bowls being played. And as I've done my research on this, I've found that the vibrations of instruments, of sounds, of noise, of music, literally change what's happening in you physically. So different vibrations can have a different impact on your body physically. So there's this thing called a sound bath, which is a playing of different instruments that impact your body in different ways, and your vibrations can be changed through music. It's so incredibly interesting. Thank you, Christine, for sharing that. It's so interesting how it can be done, and you're probably going to think I'm nuts when I say this, but when we had our first healing retreat for grieving grieving mothers, we brought in a company. I had never experienced a sound bath before, and there happened to be a company in Charleston, South Carolina, that offered this experience, and she brought in the sound bath technician. I don't know what you call them. And she came in and she played, not only did she play her gong and her bongo and her rain stick and her chimes and her crystal bowls and all of these things, but we also did a chant. It sounds nuts, but it was incredible. It was incredible. And so after that, I started wanting to get interested in it myself. So I bought myself a little bongo, and I bought myself a little gong, and I bought myself a little crystal ball bowl, and I found all of these things on Amazon. And sometimes when I feel the need, I just sit here and I beat on my little drum or I gong my gong, or I play my little bowl, and my kids think I'm crazy and they love it. And jury's out on what my husband thinks is happening, but it's amazing. I can't even tell you what just happened on this little drum just makes me feel happy. And music in general can honestly change the way you feel in every single moment of life. So I use it for writing. I'm heavily impacted by music. I know that not everyone feels the same way on this one, but music to me, it's what smell does for some people. I hear a song, it transports me to exactly what I was doing when that song was meaningful to me in my life, or it takes me back to a memory, or it helps me. Like right now, I'm trying my hand at writing some little romance novellas. So I've created a playlist of songs that make me that make me feel the way I want to feel as I'm writing what's happening as this girl goes through heartbreak or through new love or all those things. But it can also help you get really happy. And in the morning before this happened, I before all of this craziness would happen, one morning, my kids have a rough time getting up in the morning. I have one morning child and the other two not so much. So we just got our first Amazon Alexa set up, which I have renamed to Echo because and so I was like trying to think of a fun song that she could play, and for some reason Wham! Wake Me Up Before You Go Go just like came into my head. Jitterbug, right? So I asked her to play that. She played it, and it just it's a fun song. It lifted me up. It totally changed my mood. I went from like feeling really tired and exhausted to dancing around the kitchen like a maniac. If nothing else, it made my kids laugh, which was helpful. And then off to school they went and started it on a good day. So music to me is one of those things. It will never grow old. Wake me up before you go, go. I'm sure y'all remember that one. So anyway, it's music can be incredible. So don't be afraid to use music as well. Okay. So those are the things that I try to do every day, just like in general, adding a little bit of meditation, adding a little bit of energy stuff. I'm still not sure how I feel about crystals. I'm not going to lie. I want to believe in crystals. I I want to get it, but I've bought some crystals. I'm learning about it, but now I'm stuck because I ordered all these crystals and it tells me I need to clean the crystals, or I need to do whatever the technical term is. I got to do this with the crystals, and I just haven't figured out how to do that yet because it was rainy and it says you need to leave them in the moon or the sun all day long. So anyway, I'm stuck on that part, but no, but I love the crystals. I just haven't figured them out yet. But anyway, like I said at the very beginning, these are a bunch of ideas I'm just throwing out of things that I have tried. If something resonates, try it. If it doesn't, find what does. Just like Debbie just said. Oh, I love that, Carol. See, this is what I do love about crystals is that there's a lot of ideas behind them that you can make it. She said I could just set an intention and blow through the crystal. So that's really cool. All right, so let's apply this to writing. The whole point of all those other things are things that can calm you down because I'm telling you right now, if you're anxious, if you're stressed, if you're ramped up, it's going to be really hard, as you all probably know, or you wouldn't have signed up for this webinar, to sit down and concentrate for 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever, and get these ideas out. I have so many ideas in my head right now, but when I feel overwhelmed, it doesn't matter what else is happening. If I sit down at the computer, I cannot get those ideas from my head onto paper in a way that makes sense. So first, I have to calm myself. I have to implement the things in my life to make me feel better. And then I have to, I have to, do the writing tips. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. I was reading some of the comments over there. Distraction, by the way, easy distraction is another mind fog thingy. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure I am ADHD, not diagnosed anyway. And I tell you what, the stress of what's been happening in the last weeks just like took that and exploded it to a level that is out of this world. So all these things help me calm my brain and do that. All right, my first writing tip for you is adjust to your current norms. For me, I had these 3 goals prior to COVID-19 ruining my world. And actually, you know what? That's not even fair to say anymore. Right now, I have adjusted to the situation. I am calming down and I am trying to find all the benefits of this that I possibly can, because the biggest benefit is that it forced me to slow down my life, and that's fantastic. So, but I had 2 more books in the work, nonfiction books that I was working on. Just market it, ditch the fear and just market it, ditch the fear and just publish it. And I had fully intended on having those both published and out by the end of summer. We have a book launch going on with my Lose the Cape, which is my podcast for moms. We have a book launch happening in the summer. And then I wanted to complete my historical fiction book that I've been working on for about 4 years. And so big writing goals. And then all of this happens and I'm like, nope. I can't even like write a blog post right now. So now that my brain is getting back on track and I'm feeling, funny that you should say that, confidence, I'm feeling a bit more confident again. I'm able to sit down and take a look at what I can feasibly accomplish in one day and then cutting that in half and setting that as my new goal. So I'm breaking it down into much smaller goals. And Heather asked the question. She says when she feels this way, her confidence plummets. Can you discuss that a bit? And I would say for me, confidence has always been a major factor in everything that I do. I think part of the reason that I like writing about mindset and fear is because I've lived it and continue to live it and continue to battle it every single time. So Lucy just posted a great resource, Hope in Uncertain Times, with Deepak and Oprah. Free meditation is great. But yeah, I would say that confidence comes in a couple of ways. For me now, like it's small wins, small wins helps me rebuild my confidence in what I'm doing. So if it's just, writing 1 page a day or editing 1 page or doing something that I can set as a small goal and have a small win, that makes me feel better for next on. Meditations and things like that are awesome as well. But doing things that help you really set yourself up for success in the first part are really important. So changing it up a little bit, change your environment, change your routine, add things to your environment, the mood music that we talked about, the bongo, the gong, the incense. smelling for a lot of people is really big, which is why diffusing essential oils can be so powerful. I was joking the other day that like I'm over here sniffing lavender like it's a drug because just like I have my little bottle of lavender and I like to, it's known for being an oil, a scent that calms you down. So that's really great. So set goals that if you feel that it's achievable, then set a lower goal and then you're going to achieve it. This is the time in our life when we can say, set the bar really low and then everything you do is an accomplishment. And for me, one of the things that's been really helping me through, there's a group of women here who have been showing up at almost everything I do, every webinar. We created a free community on Mighty Networks. It's that I don't have it up here to thing, but I can stick it in the notes when it goes back out again. But it's just, I'm new to Mighty Networks and we're trying to figure out how to use it as effectively as possible. But we've been posting events in there. We've been doing writing sprints, which we just block an hour where we pop into my Zoom room and we all just are there. Nobody's talking to each other. We're all just focused on writing and it doesn't have to be writing. Like yesterday, I worked on a webinar during that time, but it was a focused time of writing something or producing something that I needed to do. We talked about our goals before. We talked about what we accomplished afterwards. It was really nice. We had interaction with people. We smiled, we laughed, we congratulated each other. Those types of things, it creates accountability, it creates community, it creates, just a part of things. Ooh, Julia, I need that Gen X women writers content. So her stories. I know her stories really, really well. The ladies from her stories, I used to write with them and to Stephanie was actually part of Sunshine After the Storm. She was one of the contributors to my first book for grieving mothers. So that's very exciting. Love to see that they're around. So, okay. Let me see what's on my next slide. So the way that I am keeping my brain going in terms of writing and getting this stuff in is doing sprints and changing the rules on the sprints. Like during NaNoWriMo, the rules of sprinting are you set aside an hour and you write your heart out and everybody reports how many words they wrote at the end of it. And I think that is great for normal times. But for right now, I'm saying if I block out an hour and I write for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 25 minutes or 60 minutes, it's all good. And it doesn't have to be towards a book. I could be working on an outline or on a blog post or on a webinar or whatever. I'm just creating that blocked out time. And it's okay with me if I don't follow, traditional rules. Again, with the setting achievable and realistic goals. And then maybe if you're struggling with what you normally write with, now's a great time to explore something different with writing. So you can try a new genre, you can try a different style, you can try blogging if you've never blogged before, which is great because it's usually very focused on one specific topic and short, 350 to 750 words, unless you're writing a really big one. And if you're writing really big stuff, consider a series, then you have more than one post done. You can do gratitude journaling, or any type of journaling. Daily prompts will help you. But gratitude journaling, I want to tell you a story. And some of you who have been on all of my webinars and calls have probably heard me tell this story before, but it is the most powerful story that I have to demonstrate the importance of gratitude journaling. And I hope this story doesn't trigger anyone or upset them. But as I told you at the beginning, I work a lot with grieving mothers, and I am currently collaboratively writing a book with a woman who went through one of the worst experiences ever. And she was battling for custody of her daughter. And eventually the court gave unsupervised overnight visits to the father of the child when the child was 26 months old. And on the second unsupervised visit, he he took the little girl's life. He shot her twice and then also set the house on fire and took his own life. And pretty much one of the most horrific situations you can ever imagine trying to navigate, right? So the reason I bring this up with gratitude journaling is because as she was trying to move her way through this, to just live, I mean, shoot, to just breathe, right? She had a life coach at the time, and her life coach was insistent that every morning she wake up and write 3 things in her gratitude journal. She says, I don't care what they are, but every day you need to find 3 things to write down in that journal. And when she was telling me this story as we were putting together all the information for her book, now she can laugh about it. It's been 4 years, but she said, I hated her and I hated that she made me do this, but it was one of the best things. And she said in the beginning, like some days she could only think of one thing, and sometimes that was just an expletive. Like she would just write F you in the because she was like, I'm not there yet. I can't think of anything good, but getting in the habit of getting up every day. And eventually, the next day she would wake up and she'd say, I'm grateful that I'm Kira's mother. Her second daughter's name is Haley. Sorry. She said, I'm grateful that I'm Kira's mother. And then, I'm grateful that I had almost 3 years to love this child. And she eventually found things. And I'm grateful that I am still breathing. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. And eventually she was able to every day give gratitude for 3 things. And she swears that that was one of the most healing, one of the most impactful exercises to move her through the muck and into a better place. And there's a lot of science behind this, you guys. I've read, I follow Gretchen Rubin and the Happiness Project, and I've followed a lot of these things that talk about like, can anyone ever truly achieve happiness, and that seeking happiness isn't really what we should be seeking, but those people who are grateful, who experience gratitude, who give back to others, who feel, those are the happiest people. So there's a lot to be said for gratitude journaling. All right. And then also partnering up with people. It could be one person, it could be 3 people, it could be a whole group of people. But I have a couple years ago when we did the Women in Publishing Summit, we had a woman who wrote noir fiction. And my best friend at the time knew I was super overwhelmed. She's not a writer, but she asked me how she could help. And I said, I've got all these presentations to transcribe. Can you do 3 of them? If you could do 3 of them, that would really help me. And she was like, sure. So I tried to pick the most interesting ones out there that I could. And I sent her this one, which was all about screenplay writing and noir fiction. And she listened to it and she was like, oh my gosh, that was so interesting. It makes me want to write a book, a really dark fiction book too. So we jokingly over the years have talked about co-writing this book together, and we haven't had the time to ever do it. And recently, now she's at home all day long. I'm at home all day long. And we were like, you know what, we really should get back to the idea of writing this book. So we haven't started it yet, but I'm intrigued by what might happen with it. And she lives in France. We don't get to talk very much. We message back and forth on WhatsApp every day, but I'm excited about the idea of starting a writing project with my very best friend in the whole wide world, who's not a writer, but we'll see how it goes, right? Okay, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss this question here from Tiffany, because this is a big one. How do you find time and quiet to write with the kids at home from school or daycare? I know that if you have really small children, this could be very, very difficult. When I first started working from home, or when I first started, writing and doing the whole, okay, I'm going to do this for real. I'm going to be a blogger. I'm going to write all of this stuff. My children were 5, 3, and 1. And that is hard times to try and do anything. So what I did was I wrote in the fringe hours, and there's a great book called The Fringe Hours and what you can accomplish during those times. Now, this is a little bit more difficult because if you're struggling with anxiety and stress, it's hard to get up early and it's hard to stay up late. But that's I would wake up a couple hours before the kids were going to get up, and I would write in that time frame. And that's where I discovered that I may not love 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't wake up at 5 o'clock unless I have to. But I found that I was super, super productive, and I really enjoyed that quiet time by myself. A lot of people will get up and journal that early or do something like that. So I would say that, if that's not going to work for you, if staying up. So when we were getting ready to publish Sunshine After the Storm, the first book, I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. And then after the kids went to bed, I would work from like 9 to 11 or 9 to 12, however long it took, because I had such a big goal. I could not do that right now. Not even going to try to pretend like I could. But my kids are a little bit bigger now, so they are pretty independent. And I don't have that same struggle. But for smaller children, I would say if you can do one or the other, either have a couple hours at night after they're in bed, or a couple hours first thing in the morning before they get up. Or if you can have some kind of, I don't know if they're napping or if they have quiet time or anything like that, find or put on a movie or something for them if they're able to sit and watch there. I know some ages, like, you're just not going to get more than 15 to 20 minutes if you're lucky. But you could, if they're a little bit older and have schoolwork to do, you can do your writing schoolwork, I'm using air quotes there, while they are doing their thing. Or I don't know if your spouse is home, or if you have a partner, or what the situation is, but I would just say to try and find some time when they're not going to be around, or awake or whatever, that you can do that. Because it's really challenging. So you just have to adjust your schedule as feasible, if it's feasible. And if it's not feasible, then maybe an option that I would have you consider is, I don't know if you take the kids on walks, but if they're in a stroller or in a place where you can do this and you're not distracted and able to do this without, putting them in harm's way or whatever, or we have like a little park that's close to our house that I don't know how you feel about letting your kids play on public parks right now, or if they're even open where you live, but perhaps in your backyard, if you go outside for playtime, maybe you can't necessarily sit down with your laptop and write, because you've got to keep your eye on your children, especially if they're really small. But what you can do is you can record yourself. I use a transcription app called Temi. It's T as in Tom, E as in Echo, M as in Mike, I as in Indigo. And I can record, and then it will transcribe for me, and I can download the Word document of the transcription. It used to be 10 cents a minute. I think they've increased their prices to 25 cents a minute. But if that's too much, you can actually just use the voice recorder that comes on your phone. And as you're watching your kids outside play, or as you're doing the dishes or preparing your meals or whatnot, you can just speak your ideas into your phone, and then come back to it later. To me, transcription has been a huge, huge thing. And it also helps me when I'm out walking and I get all of these ideas in my head that I just can't, I'll turn on my voice recorder and just start recording it, or send myself a message or something. So, yeah, voice recorder and transcription is, it's Temi. So Temi, Tom, Echo, Mike, Indigo. Tango. Sorry if I'm being proper here. Tango, Echo, Mike, Indigo. There we go. Okay. If you can. Now, here we go again with life situation, realistic expectations, and goals, but try to do something every day that is productive. Now, when I say every day, I try to have at least one day off, whether it's Sunday, if that's your day to take off anyway, if it's Saturday, whatever you want to do. Try to do something every day. And that could just be writing down a list of ideas. It could be brainstorming some things. It could be writing a paragraph. It could be writing your, story structure. It could be thinking about your marketing plan. It could be writing, something. Just take one small step every day. And if those things are too much, then use this as the time that you can build relationships, network, research, grow your author platform. So when you're ready to launch that book, you have people to launch it to. Spend time researching your comp titles on Amazon, getting your keywords and categories done. I mean, those are things that read. Oh my goodness. If you really want to be a good writer, you need to be reading in your genre as often as possible. And so find books. And you know what? Right now might not be the time for your genre. If you're writing really super duper heavy books, maybe now's the time to get really invested in some really simple, wonderful, entertaining, shorter books or something like that. But there's tons and tons of things to do there. So Rev, Julia asked about Rev. I've used Rev in the past too. They're very similar. And in fact, they have actually acquired Temi. So now that's part of their company. So yeah, I mean, the reason that I liked the Temi app before that was because it was only 10 cents a minute. And that was a significantly different. I think Rev is still like $1 a minute for transcription. So I like that. So yeah, but there's plenty of other things out there. I've heard Dragon, Joanna Penn really talks about I think it's called Dragon, the Dragon app, and I think that one is created specifically for authors. So there's tons of them out there. That's just the one that I have the most experience with and I really enjoy using. And the cool thing is that you can go onto the website and you can listen to it while you read the transcription. I don't know if they all do that, but I really appreciate that. And then you can download the Word document and it will remove the time marks and the speaker marks and all of that kind of stuff. So let's see, Otter is being recommended here. Yeah, the most important thing is to do what feels comfortable to you, to take plenty of deep breaths and to, try and reduce the bad things, the triggers and the noise and all those other things that are just adding to your stress every day. And this is my favorite part of the whole thing. I think that I'm a Pollyanna at heart. This time period reminds me, and to be very honest, I think the reason that I struggled so hard the first and second week was because I have a lot of trauma still left in me from the situation that happened. I was put on hospitalized bed rest where I was attached to monitors for the last 5 weeks of my pregnancy. So day in and day out, I sat in a hospital bed most of the time by myself because my husband was working full time and we had 2 small children at home. So while he visited me every single day, he needed to get home to our 3-year-old and not even one. Well, she was 1-year-old. And so I spent a lot of time by myself in a bed, in a hospital room, not knowing how long it would last, what the full outcome would be, whether one baby would live, whether both babies would live, what would happen, what our life would look like afterwards. And when this first all came into play, it was like a slam to my entire system of just transporting me back to that. Another situation where I'm stuck in a place I'm alone. I mean, I'm not alone because I'm with my family all the time, but the same type of situation. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. And it just just crushed me. And I had to do like I did then. I dreamed. I actually, in the hospital bed, created my blog, No Holding Back, even though I didn't know what it was going to be. I knew that when I got out of that situation, I wanted to live again. Like here I am, like hugely pregnant with twins, and all I could think about was training for a marathon because that was something I absolutely couldn't do then. So it's like I dreamed of what the possibilities were for my future. I knew that I was never gonna just let life bump me like that, knock me down like that. And so I think it's okay. I think it's okay right now to find the good, to think about your good situation, anything good that you can from this. To me, the biggest blessing is that I get to be with my kids in a safe environment and they're getting big. My son turns 13 tomorrow. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're growing so fast in our lives. We're so crazy busy all the time. I often felt like I was going to blink and they were going to be gone. And so now I am excited that I have the time to slow down, to be with them. I'm thinking about the shift in my business that I want to make. I love this stuff right here. This is where my passion is. I have been telling my husband and my business partners and people for a long time that I wanted to find a way to connect my two worlds. How did I bring the stuff that I was doing to help people move through grief and writing to heal and all of those things, and combine it with the passion that I have for teaching people how to publish books and market books? And I was like, this has been simmering for quite a while, and I'm excited to explore what I can do with this right here, because mindset issues are not going to go away ever. And mind block. I mean, writer's block has been a thing forever. So it's exciting to me to think about what I can do. And for us as writers, everybody's reading now. If you're a children's book writer, who do you need to jump on the bandwagon of getting your lesson plans done and approaching moms and teachers and everyone and saying, hey, here is a book, and oh, here is a lesson plan that will help you, spend 30 minutes teaching this subject to them, or whatever. There's just fun things you can do to help moms out right now. Thanks, Lucy. So, find the good, create, put it out there, but to your limits. So the key things I want you to know and understand now is that you've got to adjust your time and your situation accordingly. Do what feels right for you. Do not add stress by creating unrealistic goals and deadlines. Find your support networks, get with other people who are trying to write and move forward as well, and do it together. And then align your mind, your body, and your soul, even if it's just small steps like incorporating deep breaths throughout your day, taking a walk when you can, drinking water. If the weather is bad, turn on some really peppy music and dance it out. I don't know how many of you are Grey's Anatomy fans, but that's been one of my favorite shows. And one of my favorite things about it is that whenever things get hard, get tough for them, whenever they dance it out, they turn on the music and they just dance crazy. And it's amazing what that can do. Laughter is an amazing tool as well. Be gentle with yourself and adjust your expectations. Shift, meet what you can do, set smaller goals. Gosh, that's very similar to the last slide. But be very gentle on yourself and allow yourself, if you're having a bad day, to feel the feels, to cry if you need to cry, to scream if you need to scream, to throw something, to laugh uncontrollably, to do those things. So when I was at my deepest, hardest point, after my daughter passed away and I was hard grieving, I found myself, and once again, a couple weeks ago, when I felt myself really triggered by all of this, I had a choice to make. You can either fall back in there, and it may not be this dramatic for you. It might just be the fact that you just shut down and, don't allow yourself to even try to move past it. So you have, but you have to choose. Are you going to just shut down and do nothing, or are you going to find ways to move forward? So I chose writing. I chose taking care of myself. I chose time to do things to put my mind in a freer, happier place that would do these things. Oh, coloring is great. I found somebody the other day said that they thought adult coloring was stupid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is the most mind-freeing thing that it's just nice, but to each their own, right? Okay. Most importantly, acknowledge your emotions and acknowledge that it is okay to make significant changes. Our world is going to change from this, whether it's a short-term change or a long-term change. We don't know yet, but we will all be impacted by this for a long time. And you can make changes to your life right now, but you don't have to feel like you have to, become an excellent baker or implement these massive changes in your life. Do what you can, and but do something, move forward, and just know that many, many people feel the same way, and we are all out there to support each other and to do this together. So, okay. This is not a pitch session or anything, but I do want to say that I have started, if this is something that you're interested in and you want to do this journey with me, or you want more information on mindset and things like that that can help you with it, am doing a brand new course. I had actually started the pieces of it. I'd started a couple years ago. I had started putting together some mindset things, but I want to commit to making this a bigger program and to putting in some more training and some more things that will help us as we learn to put together this holistic mind, body, soul as authors. So I'm offering this program at $17 as a beta thing. So we kind of grow it and build it together. If that is of interest to you all, I'm basically testing the market here, and we'll see if this is of interest to people. I put the link in it right now. There's like 4 videos in there that are videos I've collected. I've interviews I've done on mindset throughout the years, but we're going to be adding more stuff into it. My friend Debbie is on the call. She is an expert at Reiki and meditation and these types of things. And I'm hoping to bring in friends like Debbie and Linda to do some seminars on using these different things and incorporating them into your life. But I'm just very, very honest with you right now. This is a total, like, I'm going to throw it out there and see if it works types thing. And if you want to join us, you can get in on it at a very, very low price because it's a beta run. So, we're going to do that. I just threw that link in there, and just you have to promise me that you will be kind as we develop and build this together. But I don't think I've even mentioned to Debbie yet that I want her to do this. But now cat's out of the bag. So that's what we're doing. And this is something that I need. And I was just kind of like, what a great accountability and motivation factor. This is what I do, you guys. You want to talk about accountability. If I want to make sure that I accomplish something, I launch a program that forces me to do it, or say, or make accountability built in for it. Like with my historical fiction book, I think Debbie's in this group too. I created a fan group for my book the day that I decided to write the book. So 3 years later, I still have this Facebook fan group, and every once in a while somebody will pop up and say, "Hey, are you still writing this book?" And I'm like, "Yes, not very actively, but we'll get back to it," right? So anyway, if you struggle with achieving your goals and objectives, it's very good to give yourself very public accountability, and people joining a program really forces you to do what you have said you're going to do. So that's just one element there. So, okay. Thank you so much for being here. For me, just talking about it and for having conversations with other people and putting it out there is a healing tool for me as well. So I appreciate you all validating my needs by showing up, registering for this, and showing up and sticking through it with me and making comments and throughout the broadcast. And I look forward to supporting you however we can. If you can hang here for just 1 second, I can pull up the Mighty Networks link, and I can put that in there so you can see. I don't know why this isn't coming up automatically here. Where is it? Here it is. I can invite you to join us in there, and that's a free group where we get together and we do things. I do run some paid workshops and classes, but they're totally voluntary. If you're not in a position to pay for things, then we do a lot of free stuff. If nothing else, we're just there to support each other. We have groups on that are based on genre, so you can connect with other people who are writing in the same genre as you, which is great. We do the free sprints. We do all kinds of things. So that's the link to the Mighty Networks thing. Come join it for free. Invite your friends. Let me just make sure there's no questions here that I'm missing. The app that we were talking about was Headspace. Thank you, Robin, for answering that. And then Blue Mail is an email that transcribes. Huh, that's interesting. Very cool. Okay. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Just final thoughts, breathe deeply and give yourself a lot of grace right now. And we're going to come through this and I'll be stronger for it. So it's been a wonderful afternoon. Have a great day and I will talk to you soon.